Will you call the roll, please?
Loretta Arthur.
Here.
Robin Hanger.
Here.
Dennis Smith.
Here.
Tony Casada. Mike Meyer.
Here. Robin, would you do the invocation and I'll do the pledge?
Sure.
Thank you.
Father, we thank you for this night. We ask you to bless all of our residents of Holly Hill. Help us to make the right decisions to benefit Holly Hill, and just thank you for all you do, Lord. And we ask you to be with those that are in foreign countries fighting and bring our people back. In Jesus' name, amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
All right. Next item will be the minutes, approval of the minutes. Of the lot. Do I have a motion to approve, or do I have additions, deletions, subtract, or?
Motion to
approve.
Second.
Any discussion on that? No? Okay. A motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say aye. Hearing none. Motion carries. Thank you. Mr. Walker has requested that the first agenda item that he needs to continue it. And so we don't need to vote on it, do we, Scott?
No, I would ask if there's anybody in the audience that is here for this item, that they just kind of wave their hand and you would let them know that it will be continued and there'll be another notice sent out.
Okay,
But I don't know if I know the applicant is not here.
okay. Is anyone else on this agenda item, this variance request? No. Excuse me?
Is there anybody here on behalf of the variance request, which is agenda item number 1 on this agenda? Because we're going to continue that, and we just wanted to let you know.
Okay. All right, that's, boards have any questions about it? All right, then that's what we'll do. There you go, Mr. Walker.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So then that brings us to agenda item number 2. And you're up.
Yes, sir. This particular item concerns the Mirage subdivision. This is a subdivision that is on a 30-acre parcel. It's located on the south side of Alabama Avenue and on the north side of Flomich Avenue. Subdivision plat originally was created with 161 lots, and this was approved by the City Commission in January of 2007. Now, through the years, there have been some modifications to the subdivision. There was a replat reducing the number of developable lots to 53 in order to expand the retention pond to mine shell. That was approved back in April of 2017. Then in February, on February 9th of 2021, the City Commission approved the final engineering plans for phases 3 and 4 of the Mirage Townhouse subdivision. And at that time, phases 3 and 4 added an additional 49 lots to the project, which increased the total number of developable lots from 53 to 102. Now, those phases 3 and 4 have not been developed up until this point, and the property is now under new ownership. So on May 25th of 2022, the new owner submitted plans to add an additional 19 lots to the previously approved plans. So this increases the total number of developable lots within the subdivision from 102, which is what they're allowed now, to 121. So the item is being brought back to this board in order to consider recommending or denying the proposed subdivision revision from 102 townhomes to 121 townhomes. And these so this is for an additional 19 lots. All of those lots are going on within the same footprint of the existing phases. So the pond is not being affected at all. None of the pond is being changed in its shape or filled in. This is strictly an addition of 4 additional lots that are going to be on Phase 4 and then 15 lots that are going to be on Phase 3. And the way that this was accomplished was originally some of the lots were wider. They were oversized, and so they've taken the oversized lots and they have cut those in half. So all of these additional lots are going on the original footprint for the phases. There's been no change there at all. The site is in an R6 low-density multifamily residential zoning district, and it allows 12 dwelling units an acre for townhouses. But the future land use of phases 3 and 4 is low-density residential, and this allows a maximum of 6 dwelling units per acre. However, when you look at the city's comprehensive plan, FLU policy 1.1.3, as it was amended on January 12th of 2016, the R6 zoning category may be consistent with the low-density future land use when the proposed density within R6 does not exceed the maximum density permitted within the land development regulations future land use, which it does not. The overall permitted density within the subdivision is 6 dwelling units an acre, and the proposed density is 4 dwelling units an acre, so they are under. The proposed density is therefore consistent with the low-density residential future land use. This project does propose townhomes. The minimum lot size is 1,080 square feet. The proposed townhomes will be a minimum of 900 square feet and be a maximum of 35 feet in height. The City of Holly Hill will provide the water and sewer. Final engineering plans for the subdivision have been provided by a licensed engineer and reviewed by the city, and the city has approved the revised final engineering plans and has no objections to the addition of 19 townhomes. The applicant has been notified that lots cannot be sold for development until such time that the subdivision improvements have been completed, inspected, and approved unless bonded, and the subdivision has received final plat approval. Based on this, staff recommends that the City Commission approve the revised preliminary plat or final engineering for phases 3 and 4 of the Mirage subdivision. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Is there someone here that would like to speak for Mirage? Yes, sir, I thought you might. Your name, please, and where you're from.
Jerry Pianessa with JMJ Group, 5711 Richard Street, Jacksonville, Florida. I'm the engineer of record for the new design. And Mr. Walker covered it quite eloquently. We took the exact same infrastructure that was previously approved, and due to market conditions, the marketability of the size of the units, cost of construction, we basically took the same footprint and we added those 19 lots in there by reducing the width of the townhomes to make the project feasible. There's all the same improvements, the turn lanes, the entrance improvements, landscaping, everything meets code. And, the developer's looking at getting started as soon as possible. As Mr. Walker, we're familiar with the requirements, so all the infrastructure will be built, and it'll be final platted, and then we have a different arm of the development team at Southern Impression. We'll get started with the actual building construction. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Questions?
What is the average lot size for the townhome?
The average lot size, and I was a little confused by Brian's report, but it
The plan states 1,080 square feet as being the minimum lot size.
That's right.
Yeah, I heard the minimum, but I wondered if that was what they were.
They're pretty much all the same size.
Okay. So the lot size is 1,080?
That's correct.
Or is that the minimum requirement for Holly Hill?
They meet the required lot size for the zoning district. So there may be some that are a couple of feet different, but overall.
So a little change from
Can you pull up the plan?
a slight change in the wording of Mr. Walker's report. So The lot size is 1,080 square feet. The minimum lot width is 18 feet, which is what the townhomes proposed are 18 feet wide. And then, so the minimum floor area of the building, so the first floor area of the building would be 900 square feet.
Okay, so the lot is 1,080?
Yes.
Roughly, okay. And another question is, how large is the pond? What size is the pond?
The pond? It's the same size as it was previously approved. I don't know the exact acreage off the top of my head.
Okay. Just curious if it was an acre or 3 acres or,
More than that.
oh, it's 11 acres?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. That's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a
Thank you.
lake that was
Thank you for
used to
answering.
mine shale, or shell, coquina.
Any more questions? More questions for him?
That's all I had, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone here who would like to speak for this variance, or excuse me, for this revision? Well, then come up and come tell us your name and where you're from.
I'm Joan Roberts, and I live at the original Mirage at Holly Hill, the 20 units along Alabama. That is its own little entity now, because the 161 original plan went, Mr. Viscomi went bankrupt, so things.
And you have your own team, I see.
I'm sorry?
You have your own team, the Cavaliers?
Yeah, right. My alma mater, yes. But anyways, we were curious because we don't, is phase 3 or 4 the one off Alabama?
Phase 4
Phase 4, because
is off of Alabama.
is the one off Alabama. Okay. It's going to go in behind our most west building. And there's a road that's not there now that's going to go to the west of our most west building. And we didn't know exactly how to read this map of where that road would be, how close it would be to the actual building, and how the survey went. Maybe you would know how much between the last unit and the road, how much space they have. And we didn't know if phases 3 and 4 were going to be connected in any way with, again, this is the original map that went awry. There's a road that comes off Alabama, and then it goes through and it connects, which obviously cannot happen now because of this great big lake. But we didn't know if there was going to be another way to connect phases 3 and 4, or do you have to go completely around to get from one phase to the other? To Nova or down to Anniston or whatever, to get from one to the other. So that was a couple of our questions. And we were curious as to if they're rental units or if they're going to be sold. I realize people can rent them out after they're bought. I didn't know if there were any kind of Section 8 housing going in. If the county had agreed to any kind of a road, to go over it, like Alabama has the 2 huge pipes underneath the road so that the open channel can keep flowing towards the river, and the road goes right over it. We didn't know if the county had agreed to do that or not with this phases 3 and 4, so they could connect with each other. And then we didn't also know if the backyards, like what's the layout going to be for the backyards? Do the backyards back up against our units' backyards, or are they parallel to the roads? And, we just had a lot of questions like that. And we didn't know who to ask.
Okay. Do you have an answer for some of those questions?
I would defer to the developer, who's, let him.
Will you come back up, please?
Are you controlling the computer?
I am, yes.
Could you pull up, what sheet is this? Sheet C100, please? Oh, that's my sheet, C100. I'm not sure which one you have.
Brian, do you know
That looks
which one
like
it
the
is?
one right there, isn't it?
So, in pan.
I don't.
pan down a little bit, please.
yep.
So,
But go back.
There's
Go back
nothing
up.
underneath that.
there you go.
Nope, go. Down, down, down.
There.
right there.
Yeah, That's,
That's
yeah.
our last building, right?
So your last building in the original phase off of Alabama, we're proposing a 50-foot right-of-way with a paved street to be on the west end of that. And so, just in very rough terms, the width of those units off of Alabama, there's about the same amount of space between the unit and the road as the width of the unit itself. So if it's
There's like 4 different floor plans in that 20 units.
okay.
So they're different sizes.
I would say, I'm estimating here, there's about,
If they're going to go with the narrowest one.
let's not go with the narrowest one, I don't like that.
Mr. Chairman.
Let's go with the widest one.
Chairman, she can't.
Oh, ma'am, I'm sorry.
Mike, I'm not going to be able to hear any of this, so if she could step up. I'm not going to be able to hear any of her questions
Okay.
on the recording, so she's going to need to step up
Right,
there also.
you can't have that conversation. That's
Let
what
me-
it boils down to.
Let me do my job and try to explain these. So, between the new 50-foot right-of-way and the most western unit, there appears to be about 25 or 30 feet from the end of the wall to the right-of-way. The right-of-way is 50 feet wide. It includes a sidewalk, a green space, and then a standard width road with curb and gutter. The roads do not connect, so the road for to access Phase 4 does not connect with Phase 3. That's the same way it was previously approved last year, so we kept that same infrastructure layout. I'm not familiar with the original plans for Mirage that are
Right.
now decades old. But and as far as other connections, there's not a pedestrian connection or a vehicular connection between phases 3 and 4. The channel that I believe runs to the river connects the lake, and there are some improvements planned for that with these proposed improvements. And again, those are the same that were previously approved. Addressing some of the other questions that I heard, these are market rate townhomes, so, and by market, they're not even market rate. They're all these units are for sale. So, the developer's job is to come in, make the pads building ready. Typically, they pre-sell all of these units, as they're being built. So there's no Section 8 housing, there's no tax credits involved in these projects. This is all market rate for sale product. Now, I have no idea what happens after they're sold, whether they're rented or not, but our developer's goal is to pre-sell these units and build them at market value.
Okay. Did that cover all your questions, ma'am?
Not quite.
Well, then stop, hold it.
The
Then walk up
backyard-
here and ask it.
That's right, the backyards. So the backyards will essentially mirror the backyards of the existing units.
Right.
They're about the same depth, so it'll be back doors facing back doors.
They're all townhomes, right?
They're all townhomes.
Okay. All right. Now, if you have one more question, you may step up and ask it.
There's woods right now, thick woods in Phase 4. So.
Speak into the microphone so that she's
Since
able
there's
to.
woods there, are you going to be taking all those woods down, or do you leave like a strip between our building and Phase 4?
So the question was about the existing woods. Most all of the existing trees are going to be removed just to accomplish the grading that's necessary of the building pads and things, similar to the way that the existing units would have been constructed. I think we are proposing to save some trees in a few areas, but we have an extensive landscaping plan to mitigate that tree removal and to meet the code requirements for the proposed landscaping.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm looking at a cul-de-sac, kind of. So there'll be 6 units, back-to-back yards on the north side, and then it'll circle around, and there'll be 6 units on the other side of the cul-de-sac. Is that
Can
basically
you
what
bring up
it?
the later one? Bring up the latest plan.
No, I'm still looking at that one.
That's the old one. Do you want the new one that's proposed, or?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, oh, I'm sorry, okay.
Is that
Yeah.
the new one?
Is that the new one?
Yes.
Could you zoom in on that one, please? It's actually,
7.
it's 7 and 8.
So 7 backyards will face our 5, and then the other side of the cul-de-sac has 8 units?
That's correct.
So there's 15 units.
Total.
Wow, that's a small area for 15 units. Wow. They are going to be narrow, because our building has 5 units.
Ma'am,
Okay,
I think you're done.
let's see if I have any other questions.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Please.
Done, right.
So this is just representing the phase.
No, no. Tell us your name, where you're from.
Hi, my name's Chris Warren. I own Unit 1601 Primo Court. I'm here mainly to find out if they're going to be looking in the back door of my unit, because right now behind the unit, to the east of the unit, there is some very thick foliage. I'm not sure from the lot lines if I own some of the foliage or none of the foliage. I'm just trying to see if they're removing all that foliage or if there's still going to be a division there. It's the first one when you come in on the right of Primo Court. And I know someone who knows someone who knows someone said, hey, there's a hearing tonight, better go see. I think they're up against your lot line, so that's why I'm here.
Okay. So your question is that lot line going to butt up against yours, and are the trees going to be removed?
Right, do the trees stay? And it looks like they're cutting through the road from the north side, the other side of my building, which I'm fine with, because there was a cut road when I bought there. I just don't, I have tenants there, and they're just going to complain loudly if all of a sudden they're like, I just want to see if the plants are going to stay there or not. That's all.
Well, what I just heard him say was he's going to remove the trees that he needs to remove in order to accomplish the project, and that's certainly reasonable. More questions?
Hi,
Hi, what's your name?
Christina
What's your last name?
Bolin,
And where are you from?
Holly Hill.
You better, tell me an address.
I was born and raised. So I'm actually curious about the
Wait,
impact.
tell me your address, please.
1716 Center Avenue, Holly
Thank you.
Hill.
Okay. Now, go ahead.
Okay. So I'm curious about the overall impact of not just the development itself, but the surrounding areas, to include the infrastructure, such as, roadways, the schools, the lighting, the sewer. Also the environmental impact, such as it's in what is it, an AE flood zone. How would this increase in development affect the retention pond, specifically because of stormwater drainage? And I was taking a look at everything with I see the canal and the pond and whatever. It does go all the way through Kansas, and so I was wondering about the affected areas, as well as Alabama and the dog park. If the drainage ditches are reduced by 10 feet, how is that going to affect surrounding areas if there was indeed a strong storm? Plus, with more residents, there's more pollutants, which I was
Okay.
curious about all
Mr.
that.
Walker, would you like to address those issues?
All of those issues are licensed or permitted through St. John's River Water Management District and the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. So there's a lot of calculations and things that go into determining all those impacts. I will be happy to provide you the engineering reports and the stormwater calculations, and it will go through all of that.
I'm also curious, there's a stormwater drainage easement that's currently obstructed that goes through Kansas, which interlinks, it's basically in the middle between where the RV park is going to be and the new development. So I was wondering how that's going to affect the surrounding neighborhoods with storms, considering this retention pond was expanded prior to the thought of adding additional developmental lots. So, I mean, I really think it should probably only just stay at 102. I'm assuming those plans are all well thought out, if you took in consideration of the surrounding areas. But I was curious as to how the extra 19 is going to affect.
The stormwater calculations that will answer that for you.
Okay.
So we can provide you with those reports, and with the calculations that were provided to St. John's, as well as the Florida Department of Environmental Protection, and those reports will provide that information for you.
All right. Thank you.
Sure.
Anyone else?
One more thing. What direction does it flow? The water with that canal and the retention pond?
That's all, those are all in the reports as well.
Okay, and will that affect the easements in Block 5? It's
What easements affect them in what way?
part of Holly Hill Heights. I know it doesn't show that, that's the Mirage, but there's a little section on those prints. There's an easement in block number 5.
Okay.
It's currently preserved, although there's a fence obstructing it, and which affects the stormwater. And the stormwater also connects to the golf course and down through Kansas and connects to all that stuff I already said.
Right.
And so I was curious how that's going to impact, especially during construction or in the event of a serious storm with the floodwaters.
Right. Yeah.
And what's the probability of an overflow with the retention pond?
That's all addressed in the calculations. I'll provide them to you.
Okay.
Just leave your email with Eleni, and we'll send you all of the reports. There's a lot of reports, extensive reports that will explain all of that.
And the same with the sewers, and because I noticed you all are going to have like reclaimed water, potable water, a whole 9.
Correct.
So
Yep.
the city is prepared for the expansion.
It's all in the reports. I can't go beyond that because there's hundreds of pages of reports, so you have to follow the math. So we'll get that to you and you can follow it, but I can't go through it here.
Okay.
But I'll get you those reports.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes, ma'am, I didn't recognize you. I recognize this man over here that held his hand up. I'm sorry. I will recognize you in a minute. I didn't see it. Yes, ma'am, I understand.
My name's Darren Freeze. I live at 1608 Primo Court. I'm an owner there. My question is, there's a dead-end road that this young lady mentioned. Is that going to tie into this new phase? Okay, and if it is there going to be a gate for owners or renters to use to go through our property onto that property?
Brian,
And
can you answer that, or
lastly-
do we need to bring the engineer back up?
Bring the
And
engineer.
then lastly, we're an HOA. Is this going to be another HOA separate from ours, or is it going to be combined?
Okay.
The answer to your first question about the roads is shown up here. So this is kind of the southwest corner of the Mirage development that's shown. And we are the dead-end street that turns off and heads east. That's what we're tying into, and it will connect through all of Phase 3 and to a main entrance that you see there in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. That'll be a main entrance for Phase 3, and it will connect back to your phase of the development.
Is there going to be a gate?
No, there's not.
Does it connect to Primo Court?
Okay.
Yeah. So it'll cross the canal and connect to the existing roadway. Can you hear what I'm saying?
I can hear what you're saying, but I won't be able to pick up anything that you guys are asking.
Chairman, they
Oh, I'm sorry.
they keep
I was-
talking out of the
Yeah,
audience,
so
and she's not gonna-
Jerry, if you'd like to stand here, you can use my mic, and then if they have questions, they can go to that mic, and then you can answer back and forth that way, if that
would be
works for
great,
you.
Lenny, thank you.
Is a combined HOA or is it a separate HOA?
I actually don't know the answer to that question. I don't know how the existing lands were entitled, whether they were included as part of the existing HOA. So it will be in an HOA, I just don't know whether it'll be in yours or a brand-new one.
Because our concern is having two separate HOAs and having access through our properties.
I understand they're going to be public right-of-ways. It's just like, it'll be just like two public streets that are connected.
All right, well, that's how it wasn't sold to me, so, thank you.
All right, ma'am?
Good evening, Don Boland, 1716 Center Avenue, Holly Hill. My concern is with regards to the elevation in Phase 4, when you move in, I'm not certain what direction, but by Kingsport, Newcastle, and Royal Oak. The land elevation with regards to the stormwater retention pond, Nova Road, the water going to the golf course. With this project, it's all intermingled, and the easements between these properties that will continue with Phase 4 is very concerning because of the removal of all this land and compacting these homes. The additional expansion is from near Anniston after Ensley. What's it going to do to the land? What is going to take place with regards to the stormwater and the flood zoning? A&E on the flood zone, on the flood maps, as far as things are concerned. When you're packing in little townhomes, but you're taking out the vegetation when the water comes off Nova Road to Alabama, it comes with the retention pond from the dog park, it runs to the railroad tracks, it runs to LBGA, the big oval with regards to the entire city map on these retention ponds and stormwater easements throughout the city is very concerning to me as a homeowner on Center Avenue. I understand the project is going to go ahead and be continued with Phase 3 and 4, and that is very concerning with regards to the combination on what's taken place in that area.
Chair, would you like me to address that?
Yes, please do.
Okay.
Ryan.
So I think what needs to be understood is that these projects, when these projects are submitted, there are requirements from St. John's, there's requirements from the Department of Environmental Protection, there are stormwater analysis that are done, there are reports that are done, there's a lot of analysis and math that goes into these things, so that we have substantial, competent evidence from engineers and people who are trained in this. Those reports have been reviewed. They've been reviewed by the city's engineers. They were prepared by the applicant's engineers. And the various scenarios with regard to stormwater management and flooding have all been explained and have met the requirements of St. John's and the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. So we can't sit and address hypothetical situations. If you have numbers, if you've got analysis, and based on that analysis, you want to debate the reports or the stormwater analysis that have been done, that can then be addressed by the engineer. But what we can't do is take and say, well, what happens if it moves in this direction? What happens if it moves in that direction? So I don't have answers. We don't have answers to those questions.
Okay, as you are well aware, with regards to the oversight related to the easement between the Birmingham and Center Avenue property that clearly has stormwater retention. It has had stormwater retention forever. I've lived there since 1998. I can show you pictures of the stormwater that goes into the easement. That is an issue. It's not just that property. The water has been running from Nova Road, Alabama,
And Ms. Boland, you have an attorney who's handling that.
I don't have an attorney that's handling anything
Well,
related to the code violations regarding the fencing in the easement, and with regards
this
to
is a
the
totally
situation-
different,
It wasn't,
Ma'am?
it didn't have to do with that. It has to do with the Phase 4 project where the Newcastle and the Kingsport and the Royal Court, with regards to the expansion,
And that's on,
the
clean on
land
the,
elevation.
may I address that?
Yes, sir.
That's clean on the other side of the mine, of the water, of the pond. Newcastle, those streets that you mentioned are way over there, and this project is a little bitty piece way over here that has its own wet retention. So I'm having a hard time understanding
This is
the
on the
point you're
map.
making.
I'm pulling it from the Phase 4. The Phase 4 runs past Ensley to Anniston.
There's
with-
Phase
with
4 right there.
Newcastle, Kingsport, and Royal.
Phase 4 is coming off Alabama, and it's a cul-de-sac, and New,
That's Phase 4
whatever
right
those
there.
streets
I can't
are,
see
I can't
that.
think of the name of them off the top of my head, but they're all on the other side of the lake, for goodness sake. I don't understand your,
The lake,
yeah, the pond, the big, great big water, the big body of water that's sitting there from Phase 4.
closer to Anniston.
The three cul-de-sacs on the right, if you're looking at it on the right, those are the streets that you're speaking of. What we're dealing with is the dark thing on the left, completely on the other side.
Well, my concern.
That's Phase
My
4.
concern is the reclaimed water as well as the storm water and the land elevation.
Well, and it's
When you're
just as
taking
Mr.
out
Walker
trees,
just told you,
You're modifying the flow of water. And so, at one point, we believed that the retention pond was going to be filled in, which would have been a major concern because of the way the water flows from Nova Road with regards to the project and the dog park. Like I said, the entire city has been mapped out with regards to the stormwater retention areas.
I'm sympathetic to your concern for the flooding. I certainly am that. I certainly am that. Mr. Walker has addressed your issues, how to resolve them. If you want to do analyses of the reports that they have, then we are welcome to do that. But to beat us up right now.
I'm not trying to beat you up.
Well, it sounds like it.
I have a hard time
I'm sorry.
breathing, I'm sorry, so
It's okay.
I'm not trying to come across as aggressive or anything. It's my health, I'm sorry.
It's okay. I get accused of doing that all the time myself. so-
It's my own health issues, and so,
Justifiably.
I was just concerned about the stormwater retention and the elevation
Right.
with regards to.
As
the
we
land.
all are, as everyone sitting on this board is. I promise you. I deal with it I'm a surveyor. I deal with it day in and day out.
I know you are. I dealt with your office years ago,
Okay.
Mr. Mark, quite often. All right, thank you.
Thank you. No, ma'am, you can't come back. You had your time. You cannot come back. You've had your time.
I have a question.
No, well.
In
I'm-
regards to
but
the
no, ma'am.
canal
Would you
and
please
the
listen to me?
temporary, bypass of it, on how long that temporary bypass would be during the construction phase and how that would affect the situation. I'm
Ma'am,
assuming
unfortunately, you
developer-
can't ask any more questions, so if you could please take a seat back in the
She
audience.
has to ask a couple questions.
Well, the chairman
was
has
it-
asked you to.
She never yielded her time. You're done. I'm sorry, but you're done.
I also had a question about Alabama and
I'm
the
sorry.
dog park
You-
with the canal.
Listen to me. You are done. Thank
Is it
you.
because of a situation with an easement?
Ma'am, can you please sit down back
No,
in the
ma'am.
audience?
It's not fair to the city. It's not fair to the board. You had your time.
Does anyone here care if I ask a couple more questions?
They're not the chair, ma'am. They're not the chair of this committee, and I am, and I have a problem with it. So please sit down.
There are rules to follow. I understand that. Here, let me show you something so you can see it.
No,
Ma'am,
you're
can
out
you
of
please sit
order.
down?
Ma'am, if you don't sit down, we're going to have you removed.
I mean, I'll sit down, but.
All right,
I don't
please
understand
do.
Why I can't ask this question in regards to
Perhaps someone will stay after the meeting's over and you can ask the question. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Please, and I'll try not to be mean to them.
Please do.
Yeah. Okay. All right. There's no one to speak. Do I have, I would entertain a motion. Do I have a motion?
I have a motion to accept the terms as the way that Mr. Walker presented them.
So you recommend that
All
the
right.
city commission approve the revised preliminary plan engineering phases for 3 and 4 of Mirage
I
subdivision?
do, based on the reports from St. John's Water Management and all of the statistics. I recommend that we approve it.
All right. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion among the board? Call the question, please.
Robin Hanger,
Yes.
Tony Casada,
Yes.
Loretta Arthur,
Yes.
Dennis Smith,
Yes.
Mike Meyer.
Yes, motion carries. Thank you. Is there any old business that we need to deal with? I see there's, on the board staff communication that someone wants to change the date for the meeting is it next month?
It would be September
September.
in
You want
the,
to change it to a Tuesday?
correct.
Tuesdays are just no good for me. Is there a good reason for it being on Tuesday?
On the original schedule that we had it in the following week on the 12th,
Which was Monday.
which was a Monday, correct. However, that conflicts with the city commission having a meeting as well that same day to avoid the Volusia County School Board meeting. So we have to move our meeting because of
Okay.
schedule conflicts. So we're proposing the Tuesday after Labor Day.
Okay.
Which that date will be on what?
It is Tuesday, September 6th.
September 6th,
That's correct.
12th?
No.
1, 2, right? 12th.
6th.
No,
We want
6th.
to move it from the 12th
Monday.
to the 6th.
I'm good with the 6th.
Okay. It's the Tuesday following Labor Day weekend.
Well, as everybody else checks their calendar. What about you, Dennis?
I'm good.
6th is okay?
Dennis, you said you were good? Tony and Dennis. Loretta's good.
I'll make it work.
All right. Well, it
Scott-
sounds like that we
Scott, does
changed
that
it.
work for
We're
you
gonna
also?
change it.
Yeah, I have a meeting from 5 till it ends at 6, but I usually do that by Zoom so I can watch the tail end of it here at the beginning of our meeting. Should be no problem.
All right, I may not be in attendance, so, all right, we'll just have to see. Okay. Is there anything else that anyone has? Brian?
So this Mirage subdivision will go before the commission on the 26th of this month.
26, okey dokey.
And then on August 1st, we will be bringing the Holly Hill RV Resort and the variance that was continued at this meeting.
Okay,
Will be
August
at that
1st.
meeting as well.
Okey dokey. Yes, sir?
I would like to ask the board to please be here for that meeting in August. Everyone?
I'm good month to month, Robin. I can't, promise you anything past that. August, I'll be here. September's a tough month.
August is all I care about.
August, I'll be here. You gonna be one-sided? That's all you care about? Thank you.
At the moment.
I'll be here, Robin. I'll be here.
I'm not gonna do that. We're gonna go, I was gonna take everybody out for dinner on that night, August, except you.
I might do that.
All right, if there's nothing else, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll motion to adjourn.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? No, ma'am. You're done.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. It doesn't require any discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say aye. Adjourn.